All right. I don't know if I really like mics in my hand because my former colleague Octavia talks about her voice shaking. Girl, my whole hands will be like. So the first thing I want to say is another round of applause for Magda Hernandez. As another woman of color, what you just did just gave me chills, my friend. Where are you? I can't find you. Oh, there you go. Congratulations, and thank you for everything that you've done and your commitment to education and for being here. I remember meeting you in 2022, and you were a sweet soul, and you continue to be that way, so thank you. All right, there it goes. There's the shaking. Well, we're going to work with it today, right? Okay. So the last time I was here at Power Trip was in 2022, and that month was a really special month for me. It was a month of some firsts. So we're going to practice. Oh, okay. Well, wait, go back. Okay. It was supposed to be animated, so it was supposed to go 1, 2, and 3, but we're going to work with it. So it was the first time I tried archery. You can see the pure joy and exhilaration on my face after I finally made a bow hit somewhere in the circle. I don't think they want me to come back because there were bows everywhere. But I did it because it was something new and something that this Power Trip convening offers to us to step out of our comfort zone. The second picture you can't see, but it's actually of me on the stage in 2022. And I kind of want to take a moment to say something special to this group, those who were here in 2022, because I did something that I had never done before. So I'd given countless presentations, I'd been in front of, audiences, large audiences, but I had never peeled back a layer of my identity for the world to see. That's what it felt like. You all were my world. And I used to pride myself and say, I'm really good at making relationships and telling nobody nothing about me. And the reason why was, one, I was a young educator, and I was always the first or the only of something in a room. And that makes the younger generation, browner women, more vulnerable. And so I found ways to shield myself. I did not want to tell you who I really was. I'd rather hide behind my accolades because those were really nice and you would be comfortable with me at that point. So I talked about my mother, my disabled mother, and what it was like to grow up with a woman who had a disability from the time she was born, and how that informed my perspective of the world and why literacy and education at large was so important to me. So I want to thank you all who were here in 2022, because you all gave me a reception when I came off the stage that floored me. I did not expect that. I really didn't expect that. I thank you all for being so kind and giving me a safe space to do that. That level of vulnerability opened doors for me thereafter. Districts asked me to come and do that same speech at their district. My former CEO called me and asked me if I could support and kick off a series at our company and kind of share that story and impart that passion with others. And so I realized that that moment of vulnerability was actually very powerful. And it was women in the room who gave me a safe space to do that. Whether you knew me or you didn't know me, y'all were so amazing. So thank you. And then a couple of days later was my birthday, and my hubby flew me down to Las Vegas, and we hung out at the Bellagio, and he pulled out all the stops, so I was very gratuitous, and we made her. I said thank you, and I conceived my daughter. This is Reagan. Her name is Reagan Naomi Rose. Oh, I wish you could see her other photos here, and then you'll see my hubby in the back, but you won't today, so another day. But this is Reagan Naomi Rose Rudy. And she's 16 months as of today. I don't want to look at her. Motherhood. If nothing else at all, motherhood will change the way you see the world. It'll change the way you see your responsibility to others in the world. Can I just ask you to raise your hand if you're a mama in this room? Thank you. There's a lot of us in here. It does change your commitment to the world. And so when I got pregnant, I mean, I was very comfortable being a rich auntie because I was getting older. I hit 35, and everyone was like, so it's not going to happen. I was like, it's all right, you know. You see Tracy Ellis Ross? Do you see her body? Do you see her skin? She is not stressed. I have 19 nieces and nephews. One of my sisters has 13 kids. And so when I say I was comfortable being a rich auntie, I was very comfortable being a rich auntie. But I was so blessed when I found out that I was pregnant. I couldn't believe it. And immediately, Christian and I started to plan. We started to plan. I am very type A. He is not. So bless his heart. Pray for him, okay? He doesn't see the world the way that I do. But we started to plan and prepare and think about the future, and we started to have a vision like Martha did, right? And have a vision for for what we wanted for our daughter. And that is sort of what I want to spend the next 10 or 15 minutes, whatever time I have left, to talk to you all about in this room. Because as educators, we also, and leaders in this room, we talk a lot about the kids and what we do for the kids, and everything we do is for the kids. But we also have to remember that we're living through a changing time, a period where lots of things are coming at education. And I heard someone say you have to feed your front line yesterday. They were on the panel. Our front line is really important. So that's why I want to talk about generational leadership. Can someone read this out loud for me? Anybody? Ann? Sorry? Raise your hand if you're in this room and you want to be a generational leader, if this resonates with you. Keep your hand raised if you feel like you've made that a priority thus far in your career narrative. So for some people in here, this is going to be more of a reinforcement. And for others, it might be time to think about what do we mean what does it mean for me to be a generational leader? Why is it so important? And today, you know, we got a lot of men who are making decisions for women, and those decisions will have long-term implications for our future. And so it's important for women to be on the front line. And for us in this room, I'm a leader as well. I no longer work at a district or a state agency, but I still support education. And we're going to look at some things today about why this is important. So I pulled together some data. First and foremost, I want to level set. Hopefully the Power Trip Planning Committee will make these slides available to you, and links to the sources of these data is provided within that slide deck. That's number one. Two, where is it from? This is IES data, Institution of Education Sciences, Chiefs for Change, Stanford Education, the Superintendency Project. We're going to look at some of these numbers because this is really important to ground the why behind this concept of generational leadership. Roughly 50 million students in K-12 public education, 4 million in the teacher workforce. This is the demographic breakdown, student to teacher. Can you all see that in the back? Okay. What you see here should resonate with you, because just as much as it's important for me to have Magda, it's important for students to have leaders and teachers who look like them. And as this world is changing, K-12 education is changing. Does anyone know the fastest growing demographic in K-12 schools right now? Hispanic. I want you to look at the number of Hispanic teachers in the workforce. Let me shock you a little bit more. This is the same data, but now columned with leaders. P is principal, DS is district superintendent, and then S is state superintendent. There's a lot of district superintendents, and I think that number captures all the kinds of superintendents, right? Like deputies and assistant superintendents. I called out some of these here for you. In red, you see 51% of our student population. It's relatively balanced, 50-50. Yet 77% of the teacher workforce is female. Now, I know we talk about women a lot, but we also need to raise our boys, and we also need to be there for men and teach them, tell them what they need to do for us. So we have a teacher workforce that is largely female. There's opportunity there. District superintendents, what is a demographic breakdown for district superintendents? 6% of superintendents are women. 56% of principals are teachers. Now, I don't know if you can sort of, my grandmother says analyze and pause, but that tells me we have a glass ceiling for women, roughly around the principalship. Why is that? Right? And so superintendents in the room, it's important to think. Someone asked yesterday a question to the panelists and said, how do we find and tap new leaders? That's a great question to be asking right now. If we want the 6% to be 10%, to be 15%, to be 20%, we gotta ask ourselves, how do we do this in a constructive way? And then I called out the numbers for the Latino community because as we know, this is the fastest growing demographic, but we are not, this is actually, this data held steady for all the years I went back. So 9% of principals in the nation are identified as Hispanic or Latino. That's not good. And only 14.5%, that number might sound big to you, but that's like a little bit. And when you look at that for state chiefs, that's like Manny Diaz and Cardona. Right? That's all we've got. So we gotta be stewards of the diversity, equity, and inclusion that we say we believe in. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I told some folks in here, I could care less if you use the word equity anymore. I don't care if you say DE&I anymore. Go ahead, kill it, no problem, because the work still has to be done. So no DE&I, but integration, please, we'll take that. And then similarly, there's a demographic that we sometimes overlook. I work for several different states, and in the states that I cover, we do have indigenous students, and we do have Pacific Islander students, and we do have Asian students, and they are a population, albeit small. We also have to think about how we lift their culture, because if there's one or two in your classroom, they're isolated. They're not seeing or hearing anyone that looks like them. So you may have struggled to find leadership in that demographic, but you don't struggle to create a space that is safe for them. This is actually not something that's unique to education. The McKinsey Women in the Workplace 2023 report says the same thing in corporate America, and I know I have some private sector folks in the room. The data on that suggests that for every 100 males that are promoted to manager, this is what it looks like for women. And 87 overall sounds good, or it sounds like progress. But when you drill down into that data and look at that across different demographics, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse, right? Despite that, the future is still female. I do want to present some data that's a little more uplifting, but I needed you to see what the numbers actually say. The future is female. Anytime a group of men get together and use all of their political will to sit us down, it's because women are standing up. It's because women are standing up, right? And we're standing up in this way. Women are outpacing men in college graduation. Go ahead, clap for that, Jess. That's right. Women are outpacing men in college graduation, and that's across all racial demographics. 47% of women started businesses after 2022, right? So what's that? That's taking lemons and making, energy. That's taking lemons and making Thank you. Right. We lost our jobs during COVID and the pandemic, and women said we'll rebound. The data does tell us that men have rebounded. They've gotten their jobs back. Women did not, and for various reasons, right? But what did women do? They started businesses. 29% of women started businesses before the pandemic, 47% after. That tells me that we are resilient in the face of challenges, even when the data says this, that, and the third. We will stand up. Women make up 27% of the STEM field. I want to just be honest. Even though this is growth from the 70s, it's actually quite terrible still, right? And I know that because I'm in technology. It's still a problem. The field is still largely white. The field is still largely male. But this one, I want to be honest, this third one really, it did actually give me a chill as a new mother, because I think about the future for my daughter a lot. And I cry like every time I think about it, especially in this crazy election cycle. But this one was interesting. Girls surpassed boys on reading and writing, okay. We're like, yeah, I kind of knew that. In almost every U.S. school district, okay, wait, raise my eyebrow, regardless, this is the part, regardless of local wealth or racial makeup. I'm gonna exercise my 2022 behavior of vulnerability here. As a black woman, I was raised to protect myself from white women. I was told that y'all are dangerous. I was told you gotta be careful, right? And there is historical basis for that. If you wonder where it comes from, I point you to Melissa Harris Perry, wrote a book called Sister Citizen, and you will see, you can read why. That does not mean that I embody that. I'm a biracial girl. I didn't embody that, but you hear it. It's told to you. What this told me is that those are things that were said or amplified to keep us apart, to divide us, because we are better together. And when I see something like this, that no matter how much money you have or money your family has, no matter what your race is, that we can achieve and we can beat the boys, that is powerful to me. That's powerful to me. That's dispelling myths. That's dispelling notion. That's inspiring. That gives me something to say, we can move forward. Amen to that? Amen. Okay. So now is the time to activate our vision and our values for the next generation, to exercise generational leadership. I wanted to just share this little pie chart, and I know the colors may not be that great for you, so I'm going to just demystify this. The 22% part of this pie chart represent principals 55 or older. 33% are under 45, and then this chunk, 44%, are 45 to 54. The average age for superintendency is 45. So right here, that 33% and even the 44%, that's a lot to tap. If you said, how do I or where do I go to find leadership, to recruit, to train, they're there. They're there, and this is the demographic that we all want to groom. And on the private sector, we want to support school districts that are implementing new innovations to support their next generation of leaders. We want to support the Mahis of the country. 5 powerful keys. I'm really not one to do like the 5, 10, 3 things or whatever. But I did reflect on this things as a mother, and I thought, what would be the questions I would have asked myself when I was leading in the district? What would have been the questions I would ask myself when I was leading at the State Department if I wanted to be a generational leader? So I'm going to ask 5 people in the audience to help me read each of these. Can I ask 5 volunteers to just go one?
Are my leadership practices reflective of the future our students need? Am I creating opportunities for women and girls to be authentic
Pulse check. Do my decisions demonstrate a commitment to lifting the voices of women of color? Take a picture of this or look for it on the Power Trip website. And this is something that I would implore everyone to ask yourselves as you think about who you are, your narrative. You see, we just heard from Magda, and she said, I had a vision. She said, leaders are the architects of the future. And she said, we do this for the kids. But she developed that space. She talked a lot about, this is where I want my teachers to go when they need to feel well, when they need training, right? That is generational leadership. Yesterday, I had a conversation, Debbie Brockett, skin to skin. And she told me, when we were wrapping up, and she's like, yeah, I could say this a little. I'm not going to say too much, but she said, I got to go. I got a teacher, a leader in my district, and whew, she's rose-colored glasses. She's loving these baby to failure. But we're going to try something else with her. And I said, so you're not giving up? Didn't I say that, Debbie? I said, you're not giving up. And she said, no, she's not giving up. We're not giving up on our teachers. We're not giving up on our principals. We're not letting their blunders be the reason why we dismiss them. We are women, and we're better together. So wherever we find division, wherever we find things that make us different, whether it's our wealth, whether it's our race, whether it's our ethnicity, whether it's our education, expertise, sexual orientation, ability, we have to see past that and recognize that there's a lot of power in our DNA. And together, our DNA will change the world. But let's start today with changing the future of education. I want to thank you all so much for giving me time and this opportunity to grace this stage. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Power Trip. Thank you to everyone. Thank you.